Welcome to my studio.
Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Fiona and I'm a full-time artist. And on this channel, I like to take you with me on my artistic journey, whether that means working on projects here in my studio, going out to see art exhibits, buying art supplies and sharing my haul with you, basically any art-related content. So if that sounds like something you're into, please like and subscribe. It's one free click for you, but it makes a big difference for my channel and I would really appreciate it. All right, we are back today with another artist studio tour. In case you didn't know, I spent some time this summer visiting several artist friends and they let us into their space to learn more about them, their art practice, and how they organize their studios. And this is because I've been hard at work working on my holiday shop, which is going to be launching on Friday, Black Friday, November 29th. So please keep an eye out for that and stay tuned. So today's artist, Natalya Khorover, is an artist that primarily works with single-use plastics and reclaimed materials to create these amazing, layered, colorful graphic art pieces. She originally was a fashion illustrator and moved into costume design, and she took those skills with her into her art practice to today. And her studio is really cool, full of eye candy and all these different things. But what really struck me was the message behind her work, in that just walking around your everyday and taking notice of the trash around and trying to think, how could you repurpose that and create it into something new? And the idea that as artists, we don't need the fanciest, most expensive art supplies. She is literally using things that she finds on her walk and then either enclosing it in resin or hand stitching it together and just creating these new, beautiful pieces that speak to our overconsumption of plastic and just what a problem that is for our environment. So today's artist, really special message, super important, but also just a joy to see into her space. And I'm just really grateful for her for taking time to share it with us. So I'm going to stop talking and we're going to get into it. Thank you for having us. Give us a quick overview of who you are as an artist, how you got started, and your process, because personally I find it very interesting that you use all these sort of reclaimed materials, for lack of a better word. Some people may say trash, but
Some people do.
Yeah, if you want to explain a little bit about that and your process, I think it's very fascinating.
My art career started off at the High School of Art and Design. I was a fashion illustration major. I thought I was going to go into fashion, and I did. So I did fashion for a while, and then I switched on to costume design. But throughout all of it, and perhaps because I have a rather thrifty upbringing, I was born in the Soviet Union. And, you know, back then, there wasn't much. So you made do. So I learned to make do from my childhood. So I noticed when I was in the fashion industry and in costume design how much waste there is, especially in the fashion industry. And that perhaps started me towards what I do now. Once I had kids, I transitioned to being an artist, a stay-at-home mom and an artist, full-time artist. And I started working with thread and fabric and leftover scraps of fabric because those were the materials I was used to. And then I slowly started adding other things that I had in my household, like little kids, a lot of laundry, a lot of dryer sheets, a lot of dryer lint. So I kind of started with that. And then I noticed plastic. Back then, it wasn't as ubiquitous as it is now, but I started noticing it back then. And first I started noticing it for some really pretty textures or graphic design or things like that. But then I realized that I could also use it in my art. It's very stitchable, especially the soft bags and things like that. So I started with the aesthetics of it being pleasing to my eye. But the more research I did as time went on, I found out about the problem that single-use plastic pollution is causing, how much it contributes to climate change. So I started using it almost exclusively. So that's my materials now. I mean, it's everywhere. You know, you buy a bag of almonds, it comes in a plastic bag. You get a newspaper, it comes in a plastic bag. So it's abundant. It's more than abundant. So I try to keep a little bit of it out of the landfill, and I try to tell other people about the problem of plastic pollution by creating art from plastic pollution. That's the main reason, is because I want to make sure everyone is aware of it, and I do love it as a material. Best part is the ceiling.
So cool.
I don't know how many feet it is, but I can put storage way the heck up there.
Very cool.
So yeah, this is it. Makeshift. There's my sewing machine, my workhorse, and that's my main tool. Here's my thread wall.
Yep.
You know, like how people lay out their paint. I have my thread out.
Yep.
These are my other supplies. This is all single-use plastic, what other people might consider trash, but there it is. Not very highly organized, but contained, let's put it that way. So this is my work table. This is where I do most of my creating. I take videos for my workshops in there as well. I'm actually getting ready to film some video here, so I just pulled out my materials. This is an unfinished project. I'm working with resin right now, and I ran out.
Oh boy.
So they're just sitting here and waiting for the resin to arrive.
Yep.
What else? This is some old work, some new work, some in-between work, some experiments. I had an open studio back in June, so I set it up for that, and I haven't taken it down since then.
It looks great though.
Thank you. I've actually added a few experiments to it and a few bits and pieces that I don't know what I'm going to do with yet, but they're there for me to think about.
Excellent.
So my sewing machine is my lovely, lovely industrial Bernina. It's a workhorse. No bells and whistles, just a lot of stickers. And this is also serves as my desk when I'm not sewing. So thus the laptop stand, which has an iPad on it right now, but that's what I do. You know, this is from where I talk from. I have a little display wall. I love those old, what do you call them? Typeset cabinet drawers, I think that's what.
For letterpress?
Yeah, letterpress.
Excellent.
So this is one I've had for a couple of decades now. And it just holds my collection of thimbles and things. So I love that. And the rest of it is storage up there. And then there's more tools and storage and various artworks over here.
Cool.
So a little bit of everything.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love to utilize the height of this. So this is my geocrumbs installation. And I kind of didn't know what to do with it once I took it down. And then I was like, well, why don't I just hang it from the ceiling?
Yeah.
Because that's where it is for now. So it gets it out of the way, adds a little interest, and you know, whenever it gets out to be displayed next, I'll just take it down.
Cool. So I was reading on your website that you like to go for a morning walk with your dog, and anything that you might see that might be something considered trash you'll pick up to bring into the studio. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So this is actually some of the trash that I pick up in the studio. Not all of this, but this is a part of a 1 year worth of trash that I picked up. And you can see I pick up a lot of hair ties.
Yep.
I pick up a lot of glass shards. And I pick up a lot of unrecognizable trash and metal bits and pieces. And, oh, here's an inside of a bottle cap. So what I did with it is I trapped it all in resin, and then I created this installation of the trash that I find in the woods that I walk, which was a very interesting experiment. And right now it's down. As you see, it's in my studio, but I am still picking up trash. Here is my collection of some of the trash I've picked up so far this year, including cigarette butts. Did you know that cigarette butts had plastic in them?
No.
They do. Golf balls, other things, unrecognizable bits of plastic. This is just all contained for now. I will take it out and I will clean it a little bit, and I will organize it and catalog it and then create another installation with it. What exactly? I don't know yet.
You kind of let the materials determine what you make, or do you usually have a vision ahead of time?
I sort of have a vision ahead of time, but that vision might change as I start laying out my materials and cataloging them, because that's the process as far as that's concerned. I got to lay it all out first, see how much I have of what my color schema is, what my textures, what is presented to me, because I can't really look at it here. It's just in containers as I pick it up, and then that will inform whether I can create what the vision in my head is or whether I need to change things up a bit.
It's just so fascinating to me that you've turned something completely discarded into something so beautiful. And you did talk about this as well on your website, that it's important to make something visibly interesting so that you're making the invisible, the previous trash, visible.
Exactly.
You want to talk about the idea of that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us are so in our own heads or busy with our own lives that we can be driving down a highway and not noticing the plastic trash that's flopping in the trees as we're driving. So I think as an artist, my job is to make that invisible visible to you. And perhaps you won't realize right away that it's trash. You'll think it's something pretty, but then when you come closer, you'll realize what it is. And hopefully that will inform your actions. And maybe you'll pick up a piece of trash next time you're on a walk as well, because every little bit counts.
Over here, you have many containers. Do you have a project in sight for any of this, or as you're working, do you pull things out?
Yeah, as I'm working, I pull things out. So this is my clean trash. So this is plastic that comes into our home, a bread bag or whatever, that gets collected. Also, people donate plastic to me as well.
Sure.
Bottle caps, lids from containers, so all that kind of weird stuff comes to me. Some of it is left over from projects before. When I make a really large project, I ask people to donate the plastic for it, and then I have leftovers to deal with. I have to ask people to stop donating because storage is an issue. This is all I've got. But this is all, I was just working on a project that was all bottle caps, so this is my leftover bottle caps. They're staying. This is the soft plastic from more of my stitched works. And this is all bits and pieces that right now I don't have a plan for them, but I know that one day, maybe not in the very near future, they'll be like, oh, we need to be in this thing. And they will be.
Yeah. So I guess my other question is, I know that you're an educator as well. So do you use any of these materials in your teaching practice?
I do. So usually I like to ask the students to bring their own plastic trash from home, because I think that's part of the way that it makes it recognizable for them to see what is in their home that can be used as art. But I usually also bring some of this with me, especially when I work with kids. The kids can't always organize things with kids and parents to bring trash from home. So I bring this to them, and then they create art with it. And it's really amazing what kids can do with what you think is trash.
So if anyone was interested in taking one of your courses, where could they find you?
Online, of course. So I started the Repurposer Collective, which is repurposercollective.com. And that is a membership site for artists who are interested in working with repurposed materials. There are tons of master classes on there. I think they're right over 30 at this point. There's lots of resources. We do monthly Zoom chats. Usually I have a guest artist that I admire greatly come to these Zoom chats and talk about their art practice. We actually have an exhibition coming up, which is still hush hush, nothing to talk about yet. But that's my main thing, where you can join me and you can learn right from me and have a group camaraderie of other artists who are very much interested in the same thing as you are, if you're interested in repurposing materials for your art practice. And if membership is not your thing, come September, I have a whole slew of evergreen workshops coming up. The first batch of workshops are going to be all about working with single-use plastic, all nature-inspired artwork that you can create from soft single-use plastic. There are 4 workshops that will be released in September, and then I'll follow up with more workshops as the year go on, and you can get a bundle of those workshops or just get a single workshop, and those are evergreen, which means you have access to them for as long as I'm alive.
So all of this will be linked below for you guys to check out. So definitely look into some of those workshops if this interests you. So let's talk about your thread wall, because I love that you had said how people tend to lay out their paints, but for you, your paint is your thread, effectively.
I do use a little bit of paint here and there, usually acrylic paint, which is actually liquid plastic, exactly.
Yeah.
But stitching is, I just actually realized it very recently, but that stitching is the thread that connects all my artwork from back in the fashion industry. And I just love the options of all the colors and the textures that are available to me with thread. I love to draw with my sewing machine, and that's what I usually do. I don't let the machine do what it wants. I make the machine do what I want. So I literally draw or write or paint with my machine, and these are my paints.
So is this an example here, for instance?
This is an example. So here it's all plastics collaged together. They're stitched by machine, and then there's a ton of hand stitching that's added to it. So that's just a small example of what I do.
I see that you do have typography in quite a few of your works. Is like graphic design and type an interest of yours as well?
Yeah, I love graphic design. I used to do a lot of that when I was in the fashion industry. And I'm also a lover of graffiti. I love graffiti arts. I have no interest in doing it myself, except that I love to be inspired by it. And one of the ways I use all the lettering in the plastic bags is where I express my love of graffiti. It's my version of it, but it's not really graffiti. It's just inspired by graffiti.
Yeah, I understand that, because a lot of my style was inspired by it as well. I did a little bit of graffiti in my day, but yeah, I'm especially inspired by type as well. And that's cool to see in embroidered form, or would you call that embroidery or sewing?
Hand stitching.
Hand stitching, very, very cool. Very well done.
So in here, there's some lipstick and odds and ends and some cards and things and bookmarks.
Yep.
Oh, this is my marker collection. It's not very much, but this is what it is.
Yep.
Let's see here. Oh, more pencils and thread and markers and things, just odds and ends. This is my tool. So I have my staplers and, wire cutters and things in here. This is the sharp tools, my collection of X-Acto knives and things like that. A few other tools here. Little blocks, cards. Credit cards are a great tool. And art material as well. This is spools left over from my thread collection. I keep them because sometimes I can use them for something else.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't remember what's, my floral wire in here. So I create a lot of flowers that are textural from plastic, and I put them together with floral wire. So that's what's in there.
Oh,
this is little bits and bobs and, screws and things. Oh, this is my thread collection. So when I stitch and I have thread leftovers, little pieces of thread for whether I'm stitching by hand or machine, I collect it because that's a great textural use for my artwork as well, and I put them in that cubby right there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You really have a place for everything. It's very, very impressive.
I try.
I also love the sticker collection over here, which you also have on your sewing machine.
I love stickers, and for the longest time I would just save them, or I'll put them in a notebook, and then I was like, why am I doing that? I have them.
Yeah.
And I love them, so I'm putting it all over stuff.
Yeah. As far as the flowers go, how did you get into that? Was that something where you were just sitting one day and playing around, or did you see something that inspired that? I'm just curious, like, how did you learn to do it?
So, to be honest, how did I learn to do it? I had the idea that I wanted to do it, and I looked online. There's tons of tutorials on how to make paper flowers. So I just translated those ideas on how to make them out of plastic. I created an installation a few years ago now, actually during the pandemic in 2020. I wanted to build a hothouse filled out of plastic flowers because I wanted to speak about what we're doing to this planet, how much hotter we're doing it, making it. So I actually asked people to contribute plastic to me because I had a very short deadline to create this. So I put out the call on social media and in my newsletter, and I said, if anybody can just find some plastic in your home, cut it up into petals and send it to me, I'll make the flowers from it for my installation. And people did that, but a lot more people really got into it and they made flowers.
Oh my goodness.
I got boxes and boxes of flowers in the mail.
It's amazing.
People who just, got into it and created a whole bunch of flowers. So I was able to fill this hothouse overflowing with flowers. You can see it on my website. It was really fun. But I still have all those flowers, and I've made another installation in front of the local art center of it. And another art center, I put it all on the walls. So those flowers are still being used, even after their first installation. And I keep making more flowers and creating more installations with them.
So you would also say that you work in the public art space.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So if anyone out there has a space that needs an installation, definitely get in contact.
Yeah, I have plenty of flowers to put in there.
So coming back over here, this is some resin pieces.
Yeah, so this is some trash that I've picked up and trapped in resin. These were more of my experiments, and this is more of my experiments as well. These are not trash. These are plastic pieces that had some paint in it. So I'm still figuring out what to do with these resin experiments. I'm very intrigued by resin because I love what it does to plastic. It makes it more transparent and it intensifies the color, but yet it is also plastic at the same time. So I'm very conflicted about using it because I don't want to be making more plastic, but I'm trying to see if I can use it by stuffing it with as much plastic as possible. So that kind of will, sort of make it better than I'm not making more plastic. I don't know. We'll see. It's an experiment in process.
And the way it layers is almost like how, you would argue a traditional painting has layers as well.
Exactly. So this is one of the pieces from my geochromes installation. This is trash I found on my walks. But you can see this is a piece of a balloon. And it made it so beautifully transparent.
It looks like a leaf.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was looking at it.
So that's what I love about what it does to the plastic. And that's why I want to use it.
Very cool. And then sometimes you can get shapes that are abnormal too, huh?
Oh, well, this is one of the flowers.
Yeah.
I was experimenting with dipping it into the resin and see what it does. So the problem with putting these kind of flowers without the resin into an installation outdoors is it can only stay there for a few months, like 2, maybe 3 at most, because the plastic starts breaking down.
It deteriorates.
And that's not good for the environment. That's releasing more trash into the environment. So I don't want to do that. But I wanted to experiment and see if I could take some of the flowers and dip them into resin and whether that would make them
more
last longer.
Yeah. Interesting.
And it does make them last longer because this installation that is all in resin, I was able to keep outside for 5 to 6 months. And it lasted really, really long, which is another reason why I want to continue working with resin because it'll allow me to make more outdoor art installations.
So you were saying before that you like to spread out all the materials. Is that where it happens? Does it happen on the floor?
It happens on the floor.
Yeah. And then you pick things up and work on it here?
Well, those boxes that are over there come down here, and I start rifling through them, finding what I need, and then stuff inevitably falls to the floor, and I don't clean up much while I'm in the throes of actually creating, but afterwards. It's a cleanup and organizational thing afterwards that kind of, it works for me. It makes me realize even more what materials I have.
Yeah.
But here I have three unfinished rings from my resin pieces. I ran out of resin, waiting for delivery. So once I get the resin, I'll finish these pieces. These are plastics that I just took out. I have to record a piece of a workshop. So I just pulled those out. These are from a workshop I just finished teaching, and it was all about assemblage and using plastic as assemblage. And that was really fun. And this is just my wall of inspiration, some of my vision boards, some of my other pieces of materials and things just that speak to me. Like, for instance, these things over here, and I've put them in here. So when I mix resin, I mix them in this jar here, and some of it gets left on the bottom, and it solidifies, and I can't use it. So I pull it out. And for now, I just have it pinned on the wall because there's something about it that I like.
Yeah.
I don't know what will happen to it.
Yeah.
But I've pinned them along here, and maybe someday I'll figure out what to do with them.
Yeah. And you have more typography here.
Yes. So
is this like for your workshops? You show that at all, or this is just a reminder for you?
This is more of a reminder for me, but I do teach once a year. I teach a vision board workshop. So these are my own vision boards. Those are usually done around New Year's. I haven't scheduled the next one yet, but I will.
But that's for this year, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Making magic, a better way, emerging, breathe. These are all very good, inspiring things. Leave a comment below if you guys also have a mood board and tell us what's on it. It's textural like your work.
Well, texture is what inspires me, so that's all good.
And the table itself, is this reclaimed?
No, it's not, but it's one of those foldable tables.
It is, okay. I'm always fascinated too what type of furniture people have.
I like it because, well, right now it's not movable.
Yeah.
But when I had it in my at-home studio, which is where I've only been in this place now for 2 years.
Okay.
Before that, I had a studio in my home, which was a very different configuration and much bigger, and I was able to move that table more. And because it's on wheels, and sometimes, especially back when I used to make costumes, I like to be able to walk around the table so that when my fabric is all laid out on there. So it's reused in a different way now that it's here.
Yeah.
And I don't make costumes much anymore, so I don't need it for that. But I don't love it because it's I can't get it level, which is a problem when you're working with resin. But it works for now. One day I'll have a bigger, better, sturdier table.
Yeah.
Or I'll make another one on sawhorses.
Yeah, definitely.
So make do.
Make do, exactly. All right. We're going to look a little bit closer at the wall. I specifically remember when we met through the other art fair, there was quite a few of the water towers.
Yeah.
Is that a body of work that you still continue, or is that from that time?
It's from that time. Actually, the only difference is
it's resin.
Once I started experimenting with resin, I decided to pour some resin over this. So these are actually older pieces that I poured resin over.
Yeah.
And I really like the way they popped. I haven't done architecturally inspired work in the last couple of years, but that doesn't mean that I won't go back to it. I still love to do that. I'm more interested in abstract work at the moment, such as this and those up there. So that's my current interest. The nature inspired series was in between the architectural and the abstract. So I can't pigeonhole myself into one thing or the other. I want to do it all.
Yeah.
So.
And are you an artist that will work on one body of work at a time, or you bounce around, or it's just you might walk into the studio in that morning and be like, this is what I'm inspired to do today. And you just work on that.
I've bounced around in the past, but I usually will make a small body of work in a specific theme, whether it's architectural, floral, or abstract. And then I might bounce back and do something else. But I usually try to work on several pieces in the same series at the same time.
Yeah. I always find that fascinating because I was somebody that would just do one-offs all the time. And now I feel like as I've grown in my art career, now I work on body of works.
Yeah.
Like I'll make that a more concerted effort. So I'm always interested to hear how other artists approach like their daily practice.
Yeah, no, it's always in a series, and sometimes I'll bounce back, but very rarely.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, do you work in a sketchbook at all?
Not really. I have a sketchbook covered with stickers.
Yes.
But it's more for doodling. It's not really.
Oh, what a cool sketchbook.
It's, more doodly. This is actually kind of reminiscent of your work.
It is.
But sometimes I'll make an actual sketch in it. Sometimes I'll just stick a bunch of receipts in there. Sometimes I'll just literally doodle.
That was from your travels, huh?
Yeah, some of it was for my travels, but I don't have a consistent sketchbook practice.
Yeah.
Every now and then I try to do it, but it never lasts.
Yeah, I'm similar in that I'll work in a sketchbook mainly when I travel.
Yeah.
It's a good way to sort of document that.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that with us.
So every Earth Month in April, I host an online, usually Instagram, but Facebook as well, project where I do a prompt every day and encourage people to make something create from single-use plastic or other trash they find. And this is for 2024. I had flower prompts. So these are my creations. I just stuck them on this old canvas. I haven't quite figured out what to do with them yet. But every day was a different flower prompt, like an iris, a lotus, a poppy. And the idea was to pick up a piece of trash from your walk that day and make a piece of art with that trash. So these are the ones that I created following my own prompts along. And yeah, those are all shared on Instagram. There's actually a, what's it called?
Hashtag.
Not hashtag. It's saved in the highlights.
Oh, in the highlights.
In the highlights.
Great.
So you can still see that.
Yeah.
Other people's work as well.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, definitely give a follow on Instagram and maybe you guys can participate next year.
Yeah.
So, and
I'm looking forward to next April.
Yes.
I really got ideas.
Oh, see? You guys definitely want to follow along then. You can participate. So in regards to the work that we're seeing here and much more work that may not be hung, where can people find it if they're interested in buying?
So I have an online shop on my website. Some of the work is there. I'm not that great at adding pieces on there, but it's usually the smaller pieces that are on there because they're much easier to ship and to run through sales. So I have the smaller pieces on there.
Great.
The larger pieces, they're all on my website, but they're not always in the shop. So if you're interested in something that you don't see in the shop, it doesn't mean that it's not for sale. It just means I haven't put it in the shop.
Yeah. So if there is something here that catches your interest, you want to hear more about, the information will be below to get in contact and you can send a little message to inquire. But the shop link will also be below. So definitely take a look at that when you get a chance. Well, thank you so much for having us in your studio. It's been so fascinating to hear about your process and see your space and how you use it. And we really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for being here. I love talking to you.
As I said, you can check everything out in the links below. We got a shop, we got classes, Instagram, everything. Definitely check it out. And I will see you guys in the next one. Till then, stay well and stay inspired, my friends. Bye.